Hey guys, it's Lily. Today I'm going to be talking about regenerative organs, the scale of how regenerative they are, and I kind of fell into this topic because I was just thinking about oh, people say, oh, don't take too much Tylenol because your liver can't process it, or obviously don't drink too much because you're going to damage your liver and it can't repair itself. But then I knew there was some degree of repair it can do. If you quit, for example, cold turkey, it should be able to kind of fix itself. So I dug into different organs, and I appreciate the kisses, but I don't want them right now. Go. So I dug into the different organs, how regenerative they are, and what you can do to kind of support them. Let's talk about it. So let's start with some parts of your body can regrow. We're not lizards. We're not going to regrow a whole limb. I feel like everyone understands that. If you don't, there's different concerns. Anyway, so some of your organs can repair, and some, once damaged, are damaged for life. Today, we're going to break down which organs do regenerate, which organs barely do, and what science says you can actually do about it. Okay, so let's talk about the regenerative spectrum. How capable are these different organs of regenerating themselves once being damaged? Well, first, let's go with the brain. It's not regenerative. If you damage part of your brain, you get brain damage, it's not going to repair itself by any significant means. The liver, on the other hand, is very regenerative. It can regrow up to 70% after surgical removal, and it's actually the most regenerative major organ in our bodies. Chronic damage like psoriasis, it can actually reduce that ability, however, because of the different things it needs to be able to regrow itself, regenerate itself. Things like psoriasis directly impede on that ability. Bone marrow, or your blood, is also very regenerative. You're constantly producing new blood cells, and these are fully regenerative under normal conditions. Again, assuming you don't have any autoimmune disease that directly affects that process. Skin, obviously, constantly regenerating and replacing itself, with minor wounds healing very easily. However, severe burns, as an example, can overwhelm this regenerative property, and it will never repair exactly the same. Your stomach and intestines are actually also very high in the regenerative scale. The lining of your stomach and intestines actually replaces itself every few days, and this is an extremely high turnover tissue area, allowing for that constant regenerative property. Your bones are only moderately regenerative because they can fully heal fractures, but they can go through severe traumatic events like complete breaks or shattering bones. Obviously, they need surgical help. They can't put themselves back without any type of guidance, and obviously they can be weaker than before. Your skeletal muscle is also only moderately regenerative because it can repair using satellite stem cells, but severe injury can lead to scarred tissue that won't be able to regenerate. Your lungs are moderately regenerative because they can repair themselves after infection. Think people who have had pneumonia or bronchitis multiple times in their lives. Their lungs can repair and regenerate after healing from that. However, things like chronic smoking can cause permanent scarring that does not heal. Kidneys are in this moderate group as well because they can repair acute injury independently, but they cannot create new nephrons after birth. So chronic damage does result in irreversible scarring. And now the organs we really have to focus on protecting. They have little to no regenerative properties. Your brain. Most neurons do not regenerate, and small areas like the hippocampus can form limited new neurons, but it's not significant to call it regenerative, and damage is often permanent. Your heart is a muscle that barely regenerates. A heart attack creates scar tissue, which scar tissue we've talked about cannot in itself be regenerated. Your spinal cord has central nervous system fibers that rarely ever regrow, and injury to the spinal cord is often permanent. Your retina in your eye is also very limited in regenerative properties. So what are we going to do about those things that have little to no regenerative properties? Let's look at how we can protect them. When looking at protecting your brain, it is most important to utilize exercise. I'm not saying you need to go start being a competitive bodybuilder, or definitely not a bodybuilder, competitive weightlifter or like an Olympic athlete. I'm not saying that. Studies show aerobic exercise can actually improve your general cognitive memory and executive function. And this is actually because it increases brain-derived neurotrophic factors. Now, what is BDNF? I had to look it up for more clarity, so sharing with you. Neurotrophic factors are proteins that help neurons survive, grow, form connections, and repair after stress. Think of them as the fertilizer for brain cells. When BDNF is released, it binds to TRKB receptors, activates internal repair pathways, and strengthens synapses, improves and can improve resilience. Higher BDNF is also linked to better memory, better mood, and lower neurodegenerative risks. So how can you raise your BDNF for all of these great benefits? Aerobic exercise, like I just mentioned, which is like regular walks, light running, just something to stimulate your body. Learning new skills like puzzles, games can do, and quality sleep. How important do we keep coming back to sleep? Anyway, and omega-3 rich and polyphenol rich foods. Something else I saw keep popping up for brain health was actually a Mediterranean diet. I don't think it's specifically saying everyone needs to be on a Mediterranean diet. I think the Mediterranean diet was just the most well-rounded for all of the brain health benefits that they were looking at. So it's typically associated with lower cognitive decline and reduced dementia risk. As well as to keep your brain healthy, you do need mental and social stimulation. Challenging environments support neuroplasticity throughout life. Looking at protecting your heart, obviously this is going to be much simpler and more direct. It's a massive muscle. You need physical activity. This is going to lower your blood pressure, LDL cholesterol, and inflammation. And again, coming back to that Mediterranean or DASH diets, these have strong evidence for cardiovascular risk reduction, as well as blood pressure control, reduces hypertension damage in heart, kidneys, brain, and your retina. Now, why is retina damage such an important thing to look at when you're looking at all these different regenerative organs? Because beyond people who just need glasses in life, it is really common for anybody in the population to have age-related macular degeneration, AMD. This is when the macula in your eye degenerates over time. The macula allows you to read, recognize faces, and drive. And when damaged, it actually creates a central vision blur, and peripheral vision remains the same. So to protect this, doctors recommend increased vitamin C and E, zinc, lutein, and zeaxanthin. That word's not working for me. I'll put it on the screen. Obviously, you need micronutrients in your diet, but a focus on those directly support your retina health. Of course, coming back to exercise is going to support your circulation, your general blood flow, which can help keep those organs healthy. Now let's look at supporting the moderate regenerative organs. Remember, that was things like kidneys, lungs, skeletal muscle, and bone. How can we support these things if they start to degenerate over time? Across bone, muscle, lungs, and kidneys, you can promote repair signaling, because remember, they can already repair themselves, but it's not necessarily the most effective. So how can you support that regenerative property? By having an adequate protein intake to supply your cells with proper functions, proper micronutrients, again, how important that is, proper sleep, good circulation, just move your body regularly, and monitoring your sugar and blood pressure, avoiding smoking, and if you can, avoid chronic inflammation. Again, if you have an autoimmune disease, that's going to already be affecting a lot of things. So if you can avoid chronic inflammation by treating injuries properly as they happen, that will help the regenerative properties in your body. Remember, your body repairs best under controlled stress, but it scars under chronic stress. So it's not saying, oh, you need to lay in bed anytime you're not going on a brisk walk and eat a Mediterranean diet. And no, that's also not realistic. Like, you're gonna be under some amount of stress if you're a normal human functioning, I think. So stress is okay. A little bit of stress is okay. I mean, our bodies are meant to be adaptive and our brains need challenges and we need to have a little bit of stress. But if you're already hurt, sick, or injured, that little bit of stress takes that much more energy. So just be aware of that. I think that's what I struggle with a lot. Like, I went to the gym while I had the flu. And I know some people are going to be like, yeah, you shouldn't have gone to a public gym. What did you want me to do? I mean, not go, I guess, is probably what you wanted me to do. But, like, I went. Anyway, I also have, I need to go to the gym for my mental. And at that point, my mental needed more care than my physical. Anyway, that's something I struggle with. So I know I need to mentally be like, I don't feel great. I need to take a break. I need to force my body to lay down. But it's fine. I also feel like I am young, healthy enough, that I'm okay being sick for a little bit longer, if that makes sense. Like, I don't have an autoimmune disease, and I'm not already at risk for anything that if I get sick, I'm gonna suddenly become incapacitated and not function. I think I just will be sick a little bit longer. So I don't really follow my own advice, I suppose. But for anybody else, if you're already feeling slightly unwell, you should go rest. Depending on the person. I don't know. I feel like some people... Okay, this is a tangent. There's always a tangent at my end of my videos. Anyway, I covered the topics I wanted to talk about. I don't know. Don't make an excuse for it. Like, I didn't sleep very good. I can't go to the gym. And shut the hell up. That's why there's caffeine. Go do some mediocre things so that your body has proper circulation and then go to sleep at a proper time. Let's start there. But if you have like a chronic every day, your knee's hurting and you're just refusing to go to the doctor, that's stupid. So there's a being aware of if you're making excuses and a taking care of yourself. There's a line between that. And I think it depends on everybody to hold themselves accountable for where that line is. I didn't realize that your stomach and intestines constantly relined themselves, but I guess that makes sense because we're constantly pushing waste through our bodies and all of the stomach acid and da-da-da. So I guess once I read it, I was like, oh, yeah, makes sense, obviously. But at first I was like, weird. Anyway, check out my TikTok for daily random content, my Instagram that's supposed to be more aesthetically pleasing, and it's kind of more just like, but I usually post... I'm more like stories of my dogs on there, so I don't know. Subscribe if you want more content, get in my community, get more direct conversations with me, I suppose. I try to reply to everyone directly in my community, at the moment at least. Till next time.